Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. We appreciate your attendance. This is the Lake Bluff School District 65 Board of Education regular meeting for April 19th, 2016. And we start with the roll call, please.
Okay. Julie Gottschall? Present. Leanne Charlot? Present. Mark Berry?
Present.
John Rosen?
Present. I'm present.
Richard Haig? Absent. Philip Hood? Absent. Susan Ryder? Present.
So we have 5. We've got a quorum. We can begin. And we're going to start with our Pledge of Allegiance. So maybe if our students could all stand and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great. Ready? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get into recognition of students, the first thing we're going to do is, we'll do this every meeting, we offer the opportunity for anybody in the audience who would like to make a public comment and address the board. Feel free to do so at the podium. If nobody would like to do that, we will move on to our item number 5, the option for board members to add a discussion item or a future agenda item to this meeting or a future item. Not hearing any. We'll move on to recognition of some Lake Bluff Middle School students, and I think to do the introductions will be the principal, Nate Blackmer, and science teacher, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to turn things over to Mr. Jackson. He's got some wonderful students he's going to be introducing and presenting with some certificates. So, Mr. Jackson.
What a great time to be at the middle school. I mean, I look at this group of people and the students that are out here, and this weekend's musical, the competitions they're involved with, the athletics that they're participating in, some even coming from tonight's track meet. What a place to be. I can't think of a better place to work and to engage with and celebrate this evening. There's 2 groups of students that we're celebrating tonight. The first group participated in a local challenge called the You Be the Chemist competition. It's a regional competition held in several areas in the suburbs of Chicago. We're in the North Suburban Regional. And 4 of our students qualified to then go and compete against students from about 8 to 10 other area middle schools. This year's contest was held at Heritage Christian Academy in Northfield. And so I'd like to recognize those in attendance. You can come on up and shake Mr. Blackmer's hand and receive a certificate for your qualification and then representing Lake Bluff at this tournament. First, Will Shen, you can come on up. Ben Scott. And we'd also like to recognize, I don't believe they're here this evening, but Richard Ma and Ben Rosa for their participation. Those students were faced with challenging questions in chemistry and other science disciplines in a game show style format and did very, very well. It's a tough challenge. There's some students that make that a priority for their school year, and we competed very valiantly, and it was a great night. The next group of students, and this is an exciting contingent of people that we have, is for the Odyssey of the Mind group. And one of the things that I've grown to really love about the Odyssey of the Mind program is it's an opportunity for the school to sponsor an activity, for students to engage with it, and for parents to become involved as coaches and volunteers. These students are meeting in homes weekly on Saturdays to come into the school to practice their performances. It's really an opportunity to engage that entire community with this type of programming. For the Odyssey of the Mind program, each of our teams competed against each other at the state contest, which is a hard task to do. No other school in the state had 3 teams competing against each other in the same problem set. These teams took on a problem where they had to create a vehicle that held 2 different students that went from different locations around a given stage area and performed different tasks. The name of the problem was No Cycle Recycle. They had to pick up different objects and repurpose them in a creative problem-solving performance. So what I'd like to do is recognize each of the teams. We had 3 teams, and we came in first, second, and third, meaning 2 of those teams will advance on to the World Contest coming up here at the end of May. From the third place team that scored very, very well, I'm just going to go off of who I see first. We'd like to recognize Jack Fitzgerald. Also, Sarah Mack. Sarah Mack, you can come on up. Charlie Paglini. And also Sarah Borland. I don't believe she's here this evening. We'd like to recognize all of the parents on that team, and many of them are here, that spent numerous hours helping the students secure supplies, generously open their homes for students to work, store the supplies. Dr. Sophie, I know you told me personally that you remember storing all of these supplies for events such as this. And so we also have a certificate for their head coach, Janie Paglini. For the second place team that will be advancing to Worlds, I'll just go in alphabetical order. Jensen Borowski. Torsten Borowski. Ryan McFadden. Tyler McFadden. And not, I believe, present this evening, Ryan Devine, and also their head coach, Kate Amaral, for all of her efforts. And last but not least, our team that placed in first and is also advancing to the World Finals, Hannah Bienkowski. Peyton Marcella. Tierney Sasson. Natalie Waite. Megan Wong. And Samantha Wong. And again, recognize and thanking all of the parents, as well as this team's head coach, Andrew Bienkowski. All of this couldn't be possible without a school board that's so supportive of the students, and administration that provides every way possible to have these opportunities for the kids, and parents that are just so supportive and engaged in your kids' lives.
And your wife.
And my wife, who's a very helpful supporter and volunteer. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to work with all these kids. It's clear to me and to Mr. Blackburn, to everyone at the middle school, that these opportunities just mean the world to these kids and provide them with so much experience going forward. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight.
Thank you.
For all the moms and dads and family members here, just so you know, if you wanted to share this with other family members or friends, it'll be on our video. All these meetings are videotaped and on the web, usually like a 2 or 3 day lag from now. So if you wanted to share with other people, then they can go look it up by date. And if anybody would like to stay, please do, because we're getting into the really exciting stuff. But if anybody wants to leave, feel free, no problem.
Thank you, everyone. Congratulations.
Bye, Bruce.
Yeah, they're all here. We have a report. Thanks, Joe. Yeah. Well, the whole audience came out.
We have a few in the back, a few stragglers.
Enthusiastic, genuine. Genuine, really remarkable.
All right, so we're going to move on to reports and the elementary school report and Principal St. Clair. Yes?
Good evening, everyone. I certainly knew how to clear a room, I guess. I don't That's okay. I will not take it personally. It's a tough act to follow. Those kids were great and a lot of huge accomplishments. We were just going to give a quick update. One, we started park testing at our building today, the middle school yesterday, but things went really smoothly today. It was excellent. We all dressed in comfy clothes and tennis shoes because last year we were running up and down and we really had very few tech issues and students were calm and relaxed and teachers were, and went really smoothly today. So knock on wood, we have it once again this week, tomorrow, and then 3 days next week. So it's nice that the state kind of combined. We had 2 sessions last year, March and May. So it's nice to just have this one session in April. Secondly, just one thing that Lake Bluff Elementary School is doing that's new this year, new and old, kind of renewed, I guess, or recycled, is we've put together kind of a green team with some representatives from the PTO, from our teaching staff, and from a former Alliance member. And there's a lot that's been happening at Lake Bluff Elementary with recycling in the lunchroom. We also felt like the courtyard was a place where we wanted to start seeing teachers and students using that courtyard space a little bit more. So the green team currently is working on looking at how we could start using that courtyard space more often. We're getting some plantings out there. We have kind of a short-term plan and a long-range plan, and then also looking at that outdoor classroom space that was kind of started when the school was opened. So that's in our long-range plan. So we're excited to have members from the community and our teaching staff working together, and that we're also going to have dialogue between all the different groups that work together at Lake Bluff Elementary. We have our eco clubs, we have our recycling effort in the cafeteria, and then this green team. So we're really looking forward to moving ahead in the coming years with that, getting that recycled at Lake Bluff. Any questions? All right, thanks.
Thank you. And then we move on to our middle school report and Principal Blackmer.
All right, good evening. Mr. Jassy, I just wanted to mention, just does an outstanding job at Lake Bluff Middle School and puts in a lot of effort beyond the classroom. So I really appreciate him coming tonight and presenting the students this evening with those certificates. It was a neat thing for those kids to be recognized. They've done a great job. In terms of park assessment at the middle school, that went well. That started yesterday. We did not test today, but we'll be back at it again tomorrow. We anticipate it going just as smoothly as it did yesterday. Hard to do a board presentation without mentioning the musical. That was last weekend. Very well attended, sold out on Friday night. I think darn near sold out on Saturday as well. Just so impressive to see what those kids are able to do. I think the moment, there's always a few aha moments for me, but during the bows at the end, as you see wave after wave of students coming out to take a bow, you start to realize just how many students are involved. Nearly 200 kids, hair and makeup and lights and sound and set design, and of course the actors, even my parking crew that recognized the need to arrive early on Saturday. I think I told them 1 o'clock would be sufficient. They saw all the baseball games going on and took it upon themselves to text each other and show up at 10:30 to really make sure that job was getting done properly. And they did just that. They were outstanding. So just a great time. Really appreciate the effort that our staff and students put in. I know that seeing those kids at the end of that musical, they get a little emotional. They get excited about how well it turned out. So that concludes my update. Perhaps only one other thing, the enthusiasm that our kids are really starting to see the development of the renovation project. That addition specifically next to the gym is one that they really can see through those big plate glass windows and are asking lots of questions and very intrigued and excited. Some of our 8th graders have already talked about, well, can we come back and at least see? I said, well, yeah, we'll make an opportunity for you to get in and check it out. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, item E, our C, our PTO report, and Miss Eva Rice.
Hi, good evening. I have two people that are going to be doing updates with me. I wanted to introduce Ann Hill is our LBES chair, and Tracy LeGrand is our LBES treasurer. So they're going to talk about kiddos in a sec, but I just wanted to give a quick update for us. Our big event, the spring auction, Derby Downs, Lake Bluff Down, our Derby theme party is almost a week away, April 30th. And as usual, we'll have our wine game, the silent auction. New this year is a live paddle race. We have some things like a Kohler trip, a brewery night with Ryan Sandberg, baseball and beers, which is really fun. Bears tickets, Ravinia tickets we just got. Backyard barbecue party catered by Graffiti Grill is the new one we just got. So we just keep getting in all these awesome auction items, and we're looking forward to it. As you may know, we're going to do a paddle race that we hope will raise some more money to complete our STEM lab gift that the PTO is providing for the Lake Bluff Middle School renovation. And then I just also wanted to give a quick update on Recycle and Compost program. We had a principal from Kipling Elementary come to our school recently to view the Recycle and Compost program because he wants to replicate it in his school. So that was a nice compliment to our team. And Kiddos has actually taken all of our information and posted it on their website to hopefully get all the other schools that participate in their program to do a program like ours. So it's really getting some good traction, and we're going to try and get a story, an Earth Day story maybe. We're working with the district on trying to get an Earth Day story out there just to promote it some more. But lots of good things going on. And then these ladies are going to give you a quick update about kiddos. Yes?
Can I ask you a question before you go? If somebody like myself who's unable to attend the fundraiser,
Yes.
but would like to make a donation,
Yes.
how might they go about doing that?
You can go onto the Lake Bluff PTO page through the district website, and there's a place where I think it says buy tickets. If you click on that, you can access the Derby page that lets you donate online.
Okay.
And you can also view the auction items
Oh,
even if you're not attending and can
great.
bid.
All right.
Yeah, it's all through the mobile phone.
So
this
there's a tab or a link on the
Yes,
school
there's a
district
link.
website. Okay.
Yep.
But
Great.
you have to click on the buy tickets and then they give you an option for
And then it
donating.
takes you to like the Derby webpage.
Great. Hopefully all the millions of people watching will get that.
Good evening. Again, I'm Ann Hill, for those of you I haven't met. Tracy and I wanted to come and take this opportunity to fill you in on kiddos. We're coming to the end of our first year at Lake Bluff Elementary. We feel overall it's been successful. We've been excited about it and happy to have it. I'm going to share some anecdotal feedback with you, and then Tracy has the numbers for you. So we just met with kiddos last week to talk about how this year has gone, how next year is going to go, are there different options, updates, that type of thing. So the first two, or I'd say the main two pieces of feedback we've heard from parents this year. One is they can't remember to order on time. That one we've solved, or hopefully solved, by education, letting them know they can order way in advance, letting them know they can order, different times that work for them, and reminders. The elementary school sends out a reminder once a month for people to order. We put it on our Facebook page, we put it on all of our PTO emails, that type of thing. The second one, which I think is a bigger piece, is people feel like maybe it isn't as healthy as it could be. So we did work really hard to always have a healthy option every single day that kids could order from. But moving forward, we're going to try and increase that even more. So we did talk about the core lunches, and overall, we're happy with the vendors. Oh, there's a couple ideas of some new vendors we could use next year, one of them being Panera, which would offer the homemade soups, sandwiches, salads, so increased vegetable options, that type of thing. Another one is Yummy Bowl, which is Chinese food. Kiddos has worked with them before, and they put a menu together, which we really liked. Things like chicken and broccoli with rice, vegetable lo mein with edamame, that type of stuff. So again, increasing vegetable offerings to make it a little bit healthier. And we talked with Michelle, who owns Kiddos, about the sides as well. So kids will continue to get fruit every day. We'll introduce veggies as a side once a day. There'll be yogurt as a side. So just trying to keep everything as healthy as we can be, but also keeping the staples in there that kids eat, the chicken fingers, the hamburger, the hot dog, you know, so that people have choices, because some people seem to be happy ordering that stuff as well. The last piece of health changes we made was with the Susie Swirl. They get that as a treat once a month, sometimes twice a month. We made sure that it's always real yogurt. We did have one option on there that was sugar-free. What was it? I can't remember, but it had artificial sweetener in it. So we just made a choice to get rid of that as well and keep everything as much whole foods, real food as we could. So we think we've addressed the health issue. We think we've addressed the issue with remembering to order, and we're hoping that people will continue to be happy with it. Tracy's going to share some numbers with you.
And while people do say they forget to order, I did run through the numbers all the way that Kiddos provided us through this week, and it's relatively consistent, about 172 students per day, and that does include the free and reduced population. Few outliers, being the first week of school, the week right after spring break and winter break, the numbers were a little lower, but then it usually ranges somewhere between 160 to 190 orders per day, and it comes to about 1/3 of the student population that is ordering per day. I addressed the health, but the food options do appear to be popular, relatively similar. Pizza is usually number one at around 200 orders per pizza day, followed by like the Mexican and bagel, graffiti grill, potbellies, and pizza. But they are all relatively close together. Susie Swirl typically has 155 students per day, and the second session they increased to twice a month. That option, and it didn't have any impact, still around 155 students. I don't know if it's 155 students that are ordering every day, but or not. And in terms of finances, we made $56.40 for session one, and we, based on year to date and then extrapolating it out, we expect to make another $52.10 in session two, for a total of $10,850. Session one did have 80 lunch days, and session two has 73 lunch days, so that's why the slight decrease in total revenue in session two. Of that, Susie Swirl was about $950, or is expected to be about $950. So this is above what we projected for the year. We did budget $10,000. That budget is down from last year of almost $14,700. That is because we did know we were implementing a new program and we weren't sure how it would work. But we are happy to see that it does appear to be successful and consistent, and that people are enjoying it.
One other thing I forgot to say is we're also very happy that the district did take on buying the lunches for the free and reduced population. So there is no longer that stigma of a kid sitting with a brown paper bag, and that's been really successful and wonderful in the cafeteria too, because we're in there every day with the recycle program seeing these kids.
And we're expecting to continue with this
Yes.
program? Good.
Thanks for coordinating all that.
Is it
Great program.
Is there any information on how it's accepted by grade level? Does it get better as they go through the school? Do we have anything like that?
We don't have any information. The information we get is just based on
All of
total
it,
orders.
yeah.
We're hoping that as the next couple of years progress, that it will increase,
Yeah.
and that we will be back up to making, close to the 15,000.
Mm-hmm.
I think with new families coming in each year and this being the only program they've been exposed to, then they'll just go with it.
Sure, because some of your current families have had multiple things right over the years.
Right.
Okay.
But it is, even my kids, they just want more days. Oh, yeah. I was going to say, my kids want more days. So I think as time goes on, I think we will see orders increase because people talk about it. They see what the other kids are eating.
It's every day of the week, right?
It's every day. Mm-hmm. Well, the option is every
And
day.
it's available to all grades, right?
To all grades. Yep. So it's really just, the parents remembering to order
Sure.
and sitting down and, letting your kids kind of be a part of it as well.
So I wonder about those numbers because Food Day was once a week before for $15,000. Do you fear any volunteer fatigue because every day you have volunteers in there as opposed to once a week?
Well, that's the great thing is that actually this cuts down on volunteer because we have someone from Kiddos, a representative that is there, and she handles the lunches. We are actually in there for recycling compost, and we're really not allowed to handle any of the lunches.
Okay.
So when we only have like one
volunteer-
or two people a day versus Food Day, we would have to have a team of about 10.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's kind of probably the same amount of numbers. but-
And we're getting recycling out of
Right.
our volunteers.
Right.
Great.
And a chance for parents to come in, every day of the week if they wanted to,
Mhm.
sign up.
Any composting fatigue? I mean, that can't be the prettiest job.
We have some frequent volunteers, lots of they're here often.
Do you wear gloves or something when you do that? Or?
Yeah, no, I think it's just, parents are finding it's a great way to be in the lunchroom. So for those parents that really want to be there, they sign
It's a
up.
great way to see what's going on.
Yeah, and I think now that the program is, kind of making some headway around town, that I think people are almost proud to be a part of it.
Good.
It's almost like they're on the beginning of something very new.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, so we're going to move to our Alliance report, and Ms. Wendy White.
My kids love the kiddos. And there is normally a vegetable or a fruit served with each meal. And one of my kids, I said, do you eat the vegetables? And one of them was like, no. But then the other one's like, sorry, I take his and I eat it. And one of them loves all that, and the other one's like, I don't have to. So the healthy things are offered, whether they actually.
Yeah, you can lead you lead a horse to water. You can't.
Yeah, no, yes.
Right.
So, anyway, so Alliance, we have a spring appeal letter that is coming out. That should be in mailboxes this week. So everybody donate. Because not only with the middle school renovation, as Margaret mentioned, the outdoor classroom is coming back. So that's pretty exciting. Alliance was a big part of the blueprints for that initially when it first happened. So I'm excited to see what kind of progress we make on that. I think that'll be another fun project to look forward to. So Alliance has a beautiful new website. If you haven't checked it out recently, we've worked really hard on that. It's turned out really nice. One of our board members, Mark Rickmeyer, has been a big driving force with that. So you can also donate on our website, lb65alliance.org, and it's a nice, easy process. I think you get a receipt right immediately when you make the donations. You don't have to wait for the thank you letter for if you need to.
Can we link to that through the district website as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. That might be easier for people to remember if they can.
Yeah, the LB65 Alliance kind of,
Yeah.
but it's what it is. So yeah, you can go through the district also. And also new for next year, you'll be able to, you have the opportunity, I should say, to donate to Alliance through the registration process. So that'll be coming up soon. So we'll see how that goes. We'll try that out for next year. So you can kind of lump it all. If you want to do all of your school spending kind of right up front instead of piecemeal along the way, if that works out better for some people, that would be super. So then look out for that. That's it. Is there any questions?
I had a quick question. Is the Alliance doing a kind of separate drive or fundraising effort for the middle school, or is it just generally out of regular funds? is it a separate campaign, I guess?
Well, it's kind of what we're focusing on for this spring appeal. It's definitely mentioned in the letter.
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes in the past, Alliance has done the spring appeal, and sometimes we haven't.
I see.
Sometimes we've just gone more after the corporate donors in the spring, but this year a letter's going out to everyone again, just to thank people for donating if you did in the fall, and and to remind people that we would like to make a contribution to the middle school. So
I see.
if you'd like to donate again,
Okay.
it would be appreciated. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I believe
Jay doesn't have a report.
No, not tonight. Okay. And then Dr. Rubenstein, our Director of Student Services Technology, will have an update.
Very briefly, we are going to be renewing our contract with PowerSchool, which is our student information system. PowerSchool has been our student information system provider for a long while. The contract has been reviewed by Hodges, Luisi, Eisenhower, Rodick, and Cohn. PowerSchool, unfortunately, as they have gotten bigger and as many of our corporations have gotten bigger, have become less willing to negotiate with school districts. So while there were certain things that we asked for in our contract, there was not a whole lot of give back in those contract negotiations, but there were negotiations nonetheless. And so we just wanted to update you on the fact that we did attempt to take a look at the contract and get a couple of other procedural safeguards put in there to protect student data, student privacy, and make sure that everything was to our liking, but not everything was able to make it into the contract. So.
Are there competitors for that sort of service?
There are competitors. The advantage to us using PowerSchool right now is that we use the same student information system as Lake Forest High School. All of us use the same sort of systems that we've agreed upon long ago. So if we were looking at the possibility of doing a change in something like that, then we would need to sort of talk with them about the fact that we were doing that and look at what we were doing. So there are competitors, and everybody had, Margaret has used some in her past district, I use some in my other districts. Everybody has sort of their own product, and they're constantly evolving. The thing is that when we tried to negotiate our contract with Google Apps and that sort of thing, when you're a company like Google or Pearson or PowerSchool, that sort of company, to negotiate individually with school districts exceptions isn't to their advantage. So
They have a standard contract.
They do.
They're not going to vary from it without a law.
No, I will say that our attorneys, and specifically Jeff Galitz, has been really good at when he's able to get a contract very early on. He might not be able to get it for that school district, but he may be able to get it for a future school district. Mm-hmm. So he will talk with them about, we don't like this, this, and this, and it'll show up then in the next contract. So.
And when you say that they weren't giving back, did the price go up considerably, or is it that
price
other
is the same.
terms?
It's just
different
different
contract terms. Yep, we have all of our contracts reviewed by our attorneys. So
I see.
Thank you, Kevin.
thank you.
Moving on to a president's report, I do not have anything to report on tonight. So now we go to the superintendent's report.
I just wanted to say it's a very, very crazy busy time of the year for us right now because we are planning for the end of the year. We're planning for summer school. We're planning for next year. We're planning for our professional development for next year. So we're in between 2 years in the summer school year. But we're feeling really good, and we're really only about a month away from the end of the school year, which is very exciting for all of us. And that's it.
Okay. So we're going to move on to discussions and presentations, and item 8A would be the middle school renovations update.
Yes. I'm going to ask we've got Craig and Tom both here. So Craig and Tom, if you guys could go up to the mic just in case we need you.
That's Craig Siepke from our architect and Tom Carano from our construction manager.
And as you requested, we broke out some specific costs. Jay is going to briefly walk you through those today. And when he's done with that, we're going to see if you have any questions. Then I am going to briefly talk about the library wall, the tree wall.
As you requested last time, we provided some additional detailed financials in your packets. And I can go through them briefly.
Let's see if anybody has any specific. Do you want to go through line by line, or do you want to just ask any specific questions?
I would suggest that you run through the big picture like you did on these two sheets, just briefly to give everybody the overview, and then if people want to drill down into the details you provided, I think we should go into that.
Okay. Well, just to refresh your memories, when we originally talked last fall, we had, based on preliminary drawings, an original cost estimate of about $9.2 million. Then as we explained in discussions with the teachers and with the staff and with the administration, we needed to expand the size of the classroom addition from 4 classrooms to 5 because we were going to otherwise end up with fewer classrooms after the project than we did when we started. Which expanded the scope a bit, adding about $500,000 to the cost of the project. And then as we also went through the project, we had to go through village approval, which cost some money in additional drawings and meetings that we weren't anticipating originally. And then the scope also expanded a bit with feedback from village and from their architectural review board. Based on that feedback, we expanded the front entrance, we added a skylight to the building, and we also added a new HVAC unit to minimize the sound impact to our neighbors. And that was worth roughly about $200,000. Also, in the fall, we approved fast tracking the project in order to make sure we were in school on time and to avoid an additional 2 months of general conditions and the necessity of putting kids in portable trailers for the first few weeks of school when we got back. In doing so, we were designing and costing the project and building the project and bidding it at the same time. And when you do that, there are some details that are not captured in the original design. And so as we went through that project, the scope changes and the design elements, when we finally costed them out, ended up about $250,000 more than we originally anticipated.
Jay, just for a comment,
sure,
because there was a question in the media like a week or so ago where that particular element was kind of misunderstood based on some comments that I made, and I just want to make it clear that the fast tracking and the risks that come along with that were well understood by this board, and it was a deliberate choice to fast track, knowing that our construction managers would be making bids based on making estimates on preliminary drawings, and it was subject to some change as we got more details in the project.
Yeah.
There was something written in the local paper last week that would suggest that we acted prematurely in that regard and did not perhaps understand all the risks associated and account for them. So I just want to make sure that it was a very deliberate choice on the part of the board, and we knew what we were getting ourselves into as we did that.
So one thing that I think contributes to that misunderstanding is that it appears that we're saying fast tracking costs us $250,000, which is not the case, right? The fast tracking actually
is going to save money.
Reduced the cost. What changed was the ability to foresee accurately, precisely how much some of these details would cost. So I think the way we have it articulated there lends itself to confusion it appears that it costs us $250 to fast track it. That's
Well,
not
some of
case.
the items that it saved us on, you can't really quantify. Like, for example, we would have expected to house students in trailers.
You could
in
quantify it if you
September,
wanted
October,
to, but
November,
we haven't.
Which
Right.
we don't really know how many trailers that would be and what that was going to cost us, as well as the cost of what
2
construction,
months of construction
what the,
costs.
what the construction companies call general conditions, which is keeping the site alive and active and safe. There's expenses that come along with that we didn't quantify that we have saved by making that
Right.
fast track decision.
I don't know to what extent this document lives on, but I think it's a misnomer to have fast tracking the project 250 aligned that way. I think instead it is design elements not fully costed 250, and we realize savings. In addition, we realize some savings from fast tracking the project. So I just think the labels make it add to the confusion. That's all.
I agree. In fact, I did some back of the envelope calculations, and just 2 months of general conditions, I think, is about $200,000.
About $200,000.
So,
Yeah, so I think we're not helping ourselves with the confusion there.
and then lastly, we had some scope expansion, and this is really not scope expansion. These are items that we pulled out that we had in the initial plan up front, but then we pulled out of the project to try to offset the cost of the classroom addition expansion. So they sort of became alternates, and we had not discussed putting them in the project, but then in the end, when looking at the fully envisioned project, really didn't want to build a brand new or a beautiful new school and then have old flooring and old doors. And so as all of the teams who are giving us feedback and the design teams felt that we should really build the project as envisioned by those teams. So that sort of gets us down to our final estimate of $10.5 million.
Want to go through the project funding next then?
So then
Basically.
project funding, this is how we started at $9.76 million in ending fund balance. This is our budgeted ending fund balance number for this year. Then we expected to spend we were prepared to spend $9.2 million on the project. We were going to issue bonds and have debt service of $5.375 million, and then we anticipated using $3.8 million roughly of fund balance, leaving us with $5.9 million of fund balance at the end of this next year, or 37.6% of operating expenditures. So going into the project, we expected to have 38% of fund balance remaining at the end. Since that time, over the course of the year, we've been tracking to date with a variance of about $500,000 to budget. So we anticipate our ending fund balance this year to actually be higher at $10.3 million. Here's the new project cost estimate that we've given. And then, as you know, when we issued bonds last fall, we had very good interest rates. And due to the positive sale, we had an additional almost $300,000 of funds for the same interest cost than we had anticipated. We got some money in donations toward the building, and then if we do intend to build the project as envisioned, we would need to use an additional amount of fund balance. And the net difference in fund balance at the end of the year would be about $470,000. So given our current estimates, we would expect to be able to do the project and still have a little over 34% of operating expenditures and fund balance at the end of the year.
I think it's also important to note, we brought this up at the last meeting, that the money for the STEM lab is not included in here because that's curricular. So, because all of us had pointed out that we knew that we were getting more than $20,000 for that.
So that's the big picture. Hopefully everybody understands where that's coming from and how we got to that point. And now we're going to open it up to discussion about some of the details. There were some requests for additional information. That if anybody would like to get into that, or if you have questions before you.
I'd like to make a comment about the process, if I could. There were things on that list that were listed as alternates initially and I think we touched on this before, but as we got into talking about them, for example, running water and gas or electricity out to the shed, that's something that is going to save us money in the long run, because we're probably going to avoid some staff injuries, staff time moving equipment and materials back and forth.
Well, gas heat is much less expensive than electric heat, so.
And so as we looked at it, it really didn't make sense to delay that. I think you could look at this project and you could certainly pick out things to say, you know, we'd like to bring this in at a lower dollar total. And you could probably pick it apart and not do some of the stuff. But I think it's sort of where we started the project was, well, you can hold classes in the building we've got, you know, but where do we want to end up? So I think that's how we sort of came to the conclusion of moving ahead with the whole project as opposed to trying to delay things. Because I think any part of this that we delay is going to detract greatly from the overall appearance of the building and cost a lot more to do if we do it in the future instead of doing it now.
So you're talking about the whole project, which is now estimated at $10.5 million.
Correct.
And includes removing and replacing existing corridor flooring, removing and replacing existing doors and hardware, and removing and replacing classroom floors, which have been in and out of the alternate list over time.
Right.
It includes those to create the fully finished product.
Right.
Okay.
I think the other thing that I would like to share, and I'll just share it now instead of later, there was some discussion about the tree wall in the library, and you need to know that there's going to be all kinds of alternatives for that at this point. It has just been bid out. I think we're going to get the bids next week, right? Friday of this week. Based upon what that brings in, we'll be taking a look at all kinds of alternatives, ranging from the way it was initially designed to different kinds of wallpaper to painting, really looking at the cost, the total cost. So that decision has not been made yet.
Are we expecting to get bids on the tree wall as designed? Oh.
Along with an alternate.
Microphone.
Sorry.
Yeah, along with an alternate to kind of clean up the details. And so, yeah, we've got various ideas.
So you squeezed some people.
I'm trying to. Good.
Well, initially we didn't get bids on it because of the time frame, I think.
Yeah.
That's what they said, not the cost.
Yeah, there was a lot of concern with time frame and stuff, but we've tracked down a few guys who are going to be bidding it.
Great.
So this is the information that you had asked, and as we shared at the last board meeting, we will be asking for approval tonight for the scope so the project can go on. Are there any other questions that you have?
I would just like to make a comment. I agree pretty much with what Leanne said earlier, and as I indicated at last week's meeting, you know, if we're going to do the project, we ought to do it in as complete a fashion as we can, without having to go back 5 years from now to repair or redo something once again. However, having said that, I think at the same time we have an obligation, and I'm not going to, you know, I can't question what the cost of casework is, for example, or how much the lighting is going to be, or are you using efficient lighting? That's up to you guys. But I would hope as we move forward, we do take a strong look at the tree wall. That's one thing I was going to raise. Is that really, you know, the 70? At one time it was 100,000. Now I'm seeing it at 70. Is it really something that's going to contribute to the improvement of our kids' education, as a matter of fact? And I'd like to see, and I notice we have $700,000 in contingency and allowances as well. So I'd like to see us make a strong effort, and I'm sure you will do this, to continually observe where we're going with this and pull back whenever we can, or at least raise questions with regard to whether we want to do this or whether we don't want to do this.
One thing to clarify in terms of that 70,000, at least the original, what we estimated was 100,000, 70,000 for the wall, and then there's lighting that's within that tree wall, so that's where we had 30,000 in there. That's where the 100,000 came in.
It just seems at a time when we're, you know, 800,000 over budget, that $100,000 for a wall seems a little bit extravagant to me personally. I mean, there are other ways we could spend money to be more effective, in my perspective anyway. And I just think that's one area, if we need to cut back, it's one area we need to take a hard look at. You indicated we will do that.
So I had thought that we were holding 250 in contingency still. And I'm surprised to see the 700 in contingency
Well,
and allowances. So
We have 250 in contingency. There's also approximately 410,000 in allowances throughout the bid packages. So whatever
maybe you need to
doesn't
explain
get,
that. What's
well, what we do with the allowances is, for instance, concrete has $25,000 in allowance. Electrical has 50,000. If we come across something that's unforeseen,
yeah.
that needs a little drawing change or whatever, those added costs get covered by that allowance.
Yeah.
When that trade package is done and they haven't used that allowance, that leftover money goes back to the owner, goes back to the school.
So have we returned any allowances thus far, or are we?
No, because since we've just started, all right, there isn't a trade package that's complete yet.
I see.
So that we could do that. The first one that would be complete will be, a few days after June 2nd, which is the abatement contractor. He's done some work over spring break and has a little bit left when school is up. But as trade packages finish their work, that's when we can
I see.
make adjustments on that.
And Tom, refresh my memory again, what's the outstanding bids yet to be done?
We have some
Total amount?
I just got some.
total amount is
About $1 million?
no, it's
What's his last name?
about 600,000, I believe it is.
Okay.
So the detailed sheet that we have, it was through bid group 3, and it said 95% progress estimate versus actual.
Mhm.
Is that so? Now we've gone through bid 4.
We've gone
Yeah,
through bid package 4, I think is before you today for approval. I think there's a
Right.
couple
Yes.
trade packages there. 5 is what bids on Friday, and we have one last one painting that's out there. But between the 3 that are left, it's roughly 600,000.
So I agree that we need to do the project as envisioned. I have no quarrel with that, but I keep having the sense that we're not sharpening our pencils. Like, I keep asking about the allowances, I keep asking about the contingencies, and I just have this fear that as soon as you have a $10.5 million budget, you spend it. Because I've, done remodeling on my house before, and I know that doesn't necessarily extrapolate, but I just have this urge to say, come on guys, it ought to be 10-2 at the most, right? And I know that's not completely logical, but I just keep thinking there's got to be room. Like this last bid package 4 came in lower, right? By maybe $100,000 lower on when you add them all up, for example. So that's my hesitancy. It's just sort of like, if we just approved, letting the letting out all our controls, I guess. That's what concerns me, because it just seems like such a jump. Not that I don't want to do all of it, but it just feels like there's room here somewhere that we're not picking up.
I think, Susan, what you're alluding to and saying, we may have that room, but we're not going to know about that room until we get through the next.
I appreciate that, but I
months.
sort of hesitate. I'm hesitant to approve, the blank check for 10.5, because I think we can do it for less. And what do I know? But it just feels like there's room here, and we shouldn't just sign a blank check and then suddenly it's gone. That's what worries me.
I don't view it as a
Go back
blank
to the
check.
prior slide, the one that has the line items that we're still considering. Yeah, that one.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, Susan. I philosophically certainly agree with it. When I look at this, though, I'm not sure how we do that. Because what I'm hearing is that the bids will come in, you're carefully looking at them, trying to select the most valuable bid, which is usually the lowest price point, and being cost conscious in that way. And with what we have left to decide upon, I just don't see much opportunity, maybe other than the tree wall, for doing that. So I'm not, and I guess I'm fundamentally not clear on what exactly we're going to be.
I think it's in the contingencies and allowances. That's really where it is.
Right.
And I don't disagree with Susan. I view the 10.5 as an absolute cap.
You're approving
That's
a
what
difference in scope.
That's what I look. I don't want to come back again 3 weeks from now and say, it's going to be 10.6, or if we approve 10.2, it's going to be 10.3. I
Yeah.
feel it was 10.5 being the absolute cap, with the hope that with your hard work and sharp pencils and whatever else we end up doing with the tree wall, it ends up being 10.1 or 10.2. That's what I'm hoping and thinking, and I've been through a number of these projects myself. So I don't look at this as a sort of an approval to spend 10.5.
No, but I don't think that's what we're being asked to do exactly. We're being asked to approve the scope, which would mean that we're now going to do the gas and water to the shed and the corridor flooring, and then it'll be up to you to make sure we do it at the lowest price point, which may then lead to it, the project costing 10.1 instead of 10.5.
And that scope has allowances and contingencies
Right.
built into it just in case
Right.
bad things are happening.
So when it comes to approving the scope, and we talked about this a lot at the last meeting, I think more or less we were all sort of agreed that at this point it doesn't make sense to say, let's not do the doors and hardware, let's not do the corridor flooring, let's just go all in with these additional items and hope we can do it at a reasonable price point. And that's where I still stand.
Is there any other points that administration would like to make on this issue?
No, we spent a lot of time trying to detail this out. We're really looking, our word right now is value engineering, because as we get into these things, even the casework, we're looking at where we can save money. The tree wall, we spent a lot of time talking about this past week. So as we really get into it, that's going to be our conversation.
Anybody else have questions?
So if 10.5 is our worst case scenario, where do you think is the best case scenario we could hope to come in at with all of the items?
That's our.
I know it's a hard question, and that's why we pay them.
I can answer that. Take the 700 out.
Well,
I mean, that's the
I
bottom.
wouldn't sit here and tell you that
But that's the bottom.
That's not it. That's not, you will use some of those allowances. And I wouldn't sit here and tell you wouldn't.
But it's not going to go below that.
Below.
It's not going to be below 9.8.
Correct.
That's my point. It's going to be somewhere between 9.8 and 10.5.
see, now I'm an optimist. I just am, and I want to know what an optimistic number is. Is it 10?
I would say an optimistic number is 10.3.
And I'm going to say, just as a further point, I think you are not. I think anyone's an optimist who says 10.5 is as high as it's going to go, because we don't know what could happen. I mean, all sorts of things could happen. I think we need to be mindful of that too when we look at and have further discussions about the fund balance. Who knows where you end up?
Well, we have a bid package outstanding, so there's nothing we can do to control that.
But it's
600
only
grand.
600,000. So I mean, or
Sure.
100,000. So the bids are all in. So I mean, what we've done so far should give you a fairly good idea of where we stand and what's going to happen. So I would think 10.5 is the top.
And contingencies and allowances are built on a lot of years of experience put into this package to account for what's unknown behind those walls when they start doing demo and dig places that we haven't looked under every rock
I
yet.
found something this past week tying into the existing wall and having to do some redesign to make that wall stable and make sure it all ties in. You're just going to run into that when you start.
But it's accounted for.
It's accounted for.
Yeah.
It's something that the allowances will take
And
care
it
of.
wasn't huge.
Yeah, it wasn't huge, but it's something the allowances will take care of.
No buried treasure or anything in there yet.
Nothing buried.
No time capsule or anything.
Any other
If I may
questions?
just real quickly, also, it's not just what the unknowns are and then assigning cost to it. Tom and I just had a conversation before we got here about looking at alternative systems, clamps for the piping and all that potentially could save some dollars. So we still are looking at things to try to reduce the cost, and that's a more proactive approach than just waiting for something to happen and then, okay, you got to use the contingency for it. So it works both ways.
Yep.
We
We're
are
really
all
working
active
on that.
participants in this. So.
Any other questions?
Anybody? Susan? Anybody? Susan? All right. Moving on. We're going to rearrange the order just a little bit and ask, go to item C, the
Thank
FOIA
you all.
discussion. And Mr. Steve Richard from Hodges and Louisi is going to talk to us about a recent FOIA we have.
Steve is here for a very brief
Craig and
time
Tom, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, guys.
You need to stay for the approval of the packages.
Yeah.
Do you want him to stay?
He's usually here for the.
Yeah.
And we're doing it.
Maybe
Yeah.
we could do that
Yeah.
now.
Oh, let's do this.
Yeah, let's do this. Steve is here for a very, very short time tonight to answer any questions about this FOIA, the big FOIA that we had.
So you're gonna somebody
So,
gonna give us some detail
I'll-
for the audience.
I will give, I
Some
will
background.
start a little bit, and Steve, then you need to be ready to answer questions.
With a lot of emphasis on the time and cost you guys spent on.
I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Great. I'm Steve Richard. Thank you for pronouncing my name correctly. I think that's the first time it's been pronounced correctly in board meeting. I am a partner at Hodges Louisi. I work on a lot of FOIA requests, and so I'm here just to help answer whatever questions you have. As you know, the district received a FOIA request via email from a person going under the name Deborah Lee. And that request was for between 2 and 3 years of detailed legal invoices. And the Attorney General's office, which oversees FOIA matters, has previously issued 2 published opinions saying that public bodies have to make redacted legal bills available in response to FOIA requests. And unfortunately, it's a burdensome, costly process to go through the attorney narrative time entries and redact for attorney-client privilege information for student names, not just names, but anything that is individually identifiable that could lead to the identification of the student. So suffice it to say, going through what turned out to be approximately 350 pages of legal bills took time and thus cost to the district. And from our firm, the cost was $2,000. There may be another cost because there were other firms that had to redact their own bills as well. So in response to this FOIA request, we assisted the district. The first question, of course, was, do we even have to do this in response to a person who can't tell us her name or her legal address? She would refuse to disclose that information. And the answer is, the Attorney General's office says yes, public bodies do have to respond to even anonymous FOIA requests. And the reasoning behind that is that, in the interest of government transparency, it may be that a person would fear retaliation by the public body if they disclosed who they are in connection with a FOIA request. And so let's encourage, pro-transparency, let's encourage people to file requests. So that's the public access, office stated position on the matter, and just discussing the issue, we decided, yes, we have to go forward with the response. Another, of course, issue is, could we maybe argue this is unduly burdensome under the statute? Because FOIA does have an exception for unduly burdensome requests, and the answer was no. There have been some court cases and the Attorney General opinions that I mentioned that make it pretty clear that this wouldn't meet that standard. It's a flexible standard, but for instance, a recent court case said that a public body had to disclose 6 years of detailed legal invoices, which was at a significant cost, and then the FOIA requester got his attorney's fees for having to go get it. So considering those issues, we assisted the district to respond. The district sent out its FOIA response letter announcing what we could lawfully charge to the FOIA requester, which is copy charges.
Which was how much?
$35.
So all in the district, between legal fees, what do you think we spent?
From our firm, I can tell you 2,000.
But I'm thinking
From all together total, and this doesn't include any of our time, because Kevin had to work with Terry Engler and I worked with Steve, and I would say altogether, when you add Hinshaw's bills and everything, we spent at least $4,000 to $5,000, and she hasn't even bothered to pick it up because it's a $35 charge. So all this work was done, and she hasn't picked it up.
And I understand that she made a similar request of other school districts, so the
How many
total cost of
districts?
this.
How many other districts
that I know of?
that you know of?
I think like 6.
And the Attorney General's aware of this?
Oh, it's yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
did I specifically advise the Attorney General that this was happening? No.
What?
We don't have the right to file a complaint with the
No, I
Attorney
understand,
General.
but they're aware that she's made this request from more than just our district. It's a compiled, probably $25,000 cost to all districts included.
No, they wouldn't.
The Attorney General's office isn't involved.
Tell me a little bit about the record and what's occurred when districts have refused to do this. When they see a burdensome request like this and they say just flat out, I'm going to fight this because it's going to cost the district too much. What's been the response in those cases?
By the Attorney General's office?
First, and then, what?
Well, by the Attorney General's office, the response has been they're trying not to pin down exactly a threshold of when something is unduly burdensome. But I had a recent request where there were, I would say, anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000 emails to be reviewed, and they ultimately agreed that that was unduly burdensome. But it's a flexible standard.
So what happens though? I mean, in the case where a school district has said, no, we're not going to do this. Tell me what's happened to that school district.
A complaint is filed with
It sounded like the school district had to pay the fees for...
Correct. If someone goes into court, correct.
Who files the complaint?
The requester. It's always the requester.
So what if this person comes back and says, gee, what you gave me was not enough. I need another 7 years. Where do we go with that?
7 years?
Or let's say another
3 years.
Yeah.
Districts do that. There are some districts that have people that just work with FOIAs.
No, I understand that.
The first step before denying is unduly burdensome is to invite the requester to narrow the request, which we did. But she declined.
And we got a response, something similar to saying, what do you mean by that? That was the response.
And what about if there's different ways to redact a document. You can do it very carefully and take a long time and just take out or you can do it with a heavier pen. What would have happened? I don't know what standard was used, if it was a careful standard or more liberal standard. But if that were to be challenged, again, the requester would come forward. You have an opportunity to.
Right. So there's
sort
two
of out
different
the person first.
And there's two different tracks that a requester can take to challenge a public body's redactions or denial outright of a FOIA request. They can go file a complaint with the Attorney General's office. And the Attorney General, they can't really impose penalties except to require disclosure and to issue a binding opinion that the district violated FOIA. The other track is that the person can go into court. And in court, they can not only get the same relief as they can get from the Attorney General, but they could also then get their attorney's fees for having to go to court, plus fines against a public body if it's found that they willfully violated FOIA. The fines are between $2,000 and $5,000.
There's usually off-ramps as litigation goes along to avoid the worst result. So maybe at first you take one approach, you give them something heavily redacted, see if they challenge it, then maybe you come back again rather than just doing the most careful job up front. Anyway, just strategies to think about for handling this.
We do,
nuisance.
yeah. I mean, we do. We've done a lot of these, and I mean, we tried to do a pretty heavy-handed, job of it, but
cost efficient, perhaps.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Any other questions for Steve?
So this person has not picked up the results of our effort?
Correct.
What if he or she never picks it up, but yet files another request?
We'll worry about that when we.
It seems like such a waste. I understand the whole process,
but I'd like it to be discussed rather than we just start doing the work, and have thousands of dollars in billable hours.
That though, because we have a time frame that we have to meet. And if we don't have a meeting in there.
But if they're not stepping up to pick up $35 worth of copies, the likelihood they're going to take us to court seems low.
Right. Yeah. Of course, you don't know they're not going to pay when you start off. But
Just
is there
a
any way
guess.
to require payment up front? An estimated cost. You give us. We estimate it'll be $20 at least
No, can't do anything like that.
You can't do
Oh,
You can for a voluminous, quote, voluminous request under the statute. The statute expressly authorizes that for a voluminous request. This one didn't meet that because the standard is it's got to be 500 pages or more.
It was only 150.
It was 350, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was 100. Oh, that
Just for
was
mine.
that was just your bills. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can invite her in to present the reasons why she made this request in the first place.
I'd be happy to do that.
Mm.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Steve, for
Okay,
coming
thanks.
out. We really
Thank you, guys.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now we'll go back to item 8B, and Dr. Rubenstein will present on a concussion report.
In your board packet this evening, in March, we passed and ratified the updated board policy related to student concussions. And that was consistent with state law. And there is a lot that is changing, and there are a lot of moving parts. One of the biggest changes is that the district is now required to appoint or approve members of a concussion oversight team for the district. So that concussion oversight team has two main responsibilities. They have to put together a return to play protocol and then a return to learn protocol. I am recommending that the individuals listed up on the screen there this evening be appointed as members of the concussion oversight team for the district for the next school year. So Marlene Balling, Nathan Blackmer, myself, Dr. Brent Stauffer. It is Dr. Brent Stauffer. Yeah.
It's Matt Stauffer. Brent's the son.
Right. You are correct. I was focused on students at that time. Margaret.
Brent's dad, Stauffer.
Exactly. Yeah. Kathy Sullivan, Kathleen Turner, who is one of our interns in the district, and also an intervention specialist, and then Dan Williams. So we are required to have the protocols in place for the 2016-17 school year, and we want to do that. Just to give you a quick, not to be punny, but heads up, is that there are some pretty significant changes coming. The way that the law reads is that if a student reports during a game that they have had an injury to their head, that they're supposed to be removed from the game, they cannot come back into the game even if they're cleared by their coach. They have to be cleared by a medical professional. And that is going to be a bit of a wake-up call to people who have been saying, oh yeah, you're fine, just go back in the game. Those days are going to be over very, very soon. So I would not be surprised if you started to hear a little bit of hubbub in the community from community members, like, what is the district doing and why are you taking concussion so seriously? I can assure you that it's not just us, it is every district across the state, and we're just falling in line with what the state has asked us to do.
Is this something we need to prove, or are you just giving an FYI? I don't see it on our approval.
No,
it's just
an
an
FYI.
It's an FYI.
Okay. Anybody got questions on this topic? Okay, we're going to move on to our action items with discussion. And we'll start with 9A, which is the approval of purchase of the Lucy Calkins reading unit of study of K5. And this was presented at our March 8th, 2016 board meeting.
Do you want to do Tom's first so that they can go?
Sure. Sorry.
E. It's E.
Bid packet.
Oh, here we go. 90. Yeah. All right. So let me move on. I'm going to delay us because I'm
Page
trying
21.
I gotta get caught up here. All right. So we're going to skip to 9E so Tom Corona can move along here. Approval of bid group number 4, flooring and site concrete / asphalt. We have information presented in our big bid packet summarizing that, and maybe Mr. Carano could step to the podium and just give us a 2-second overview mostly for the audience who does not have the board packet in front of them to see what this is all about.
Sure. On April 11th, we received bids for trade package 9B flooring and trade package 32A site concrete and asphalt. For trade package trade package 9B flooring, TSI commercial floor covering for $331,900. For trade package 32A site concrete and asphalt, Shafkus Brothers for $335,000. We've also listed some of the alternates there, depending on how that final budget vote goes.
And between those two bids that came in that are been vetted and approved or will be approved, did we make any money compared to estimates? Or
this one, we came in approximately $20,000 under the budget.
Between the two?
Between the two, yeah.
Okay, any little bit is good. Any further questions for Mr. Carano?
So the one that is particularly higher that I had overlooked before is the site concrete, 32A, right? Higher than anticipated?
Yeah, there was, since that last sheet you're looking at, there were some items that were shifted between different trade packages, and the site concrete actually became a larger trade package, and going by memory here, I believe it was 310,000 was approximately what the site package became. Sometimes as we've done these bid packages, we've kind of shifted scopes of work between bid packages to try to get the most economical and practical results.
I was pleased to see though that removing the existing flooring in the corridor and in the classrooms came in significantly.
Well, one thing to keep in mind with that too now is that's for the replacement flooring. The removal was in the general, it was in the demolition trade package. So whether that, again, whether this...
Okay, some of my optimism is
it's in other areas. Though that did still come in under what we thought.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, I have a motion to approve the bid group number 4, flooring and site concrete/asphalt, as presented by the administration.
So moved.
Second. Roll call vote, please.
Charlotte, yes. Gutschall?
Yes.
Morozen?
Yes.
Ryder?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes. Motion's approved. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Kelly, that if you could come up just to answer questions, because I think everything's clear. The science thing I'm going to want you to talk about.
Yeah, okay, so now we go back to item 9A. The approval and purchase of Lucy Calkins reading units of study K-5. And if you recall, Ms. Kelly Bay, our curriculum coordinator, teacher leader, presented to us on March 8th and is requesting approval from the Lake Bluff Board to move forward with the purchase of this Lucy Calkins K-5 reading units of study. These materials were put on display for public viewing from March 14th through April 1st of 2016. And this is a request for approval to purchase the materials at the cost of approximately $10,026.
Questions?
No.
Anybody? All right. Item 9A, I have a motion to approve the purchase of Lucy Calkins reading units of study K-5 as presented by the administration. It's all included in your board packet and discussed at this prior meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Gutschall?
Yes.
Morozen?
Yes.
Ryder?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Charlotte, yes.
Motion's approved. Don't move. 9B. In this case, we're talking about approval of science program materials. And again, Ms. Kelly Bay, our curriculum coordinator, teacher leader, presented at the March 8th, 2016 school board meeting. And we're requesting approval from the Lake Bluff Board to move forward with purchase of Focus, a full option science program, FOSS, science program materials and kits, as well as the Science and Technology Concepts Program, STC, program materials and kits. These materials were put on display for public viewing from March 14th through April 1st of 2016. And this request is for approval to purchase materials at the cost of approximately $75,000. Questions, comments, or concerns?
I asked Kelly to cover a couple questions Susan had, so she's going to go ahead and answer those now.
So there was a question regarding one-time costs versus reoccurring costs. The $75,000 I would consider to be a one-time cost. So the kits are really stocked to give you materials that will sustain for years to come. There are some refills or materials that would need to be purchased after about 2 years. You will run out. Those refill kits range from approximately $10 up to $600 depending on the kit. Most of them are at the lower end. So those kits last for another 2 to 3 years worth of usage for classrooms of 30 students.
Excellent. Thanks. Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, anybody else? May I, item 9B, may I have a motion to approve the science program materials as presented by the administration, included in your board packet, and discussed at a prior committee level meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Morozen?
Yes.
Ryder?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Charlo, yes. Getchell?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item 9C, having to do with the health savings accounts that we discussed in closed and open session. Just closed recently. And is there any summary you can do for us in open now?
Yeah, the insurance committee is recommending that for next school year that the board match employee contributions to a health savings account up to $1,000 for employee-only coverage, up to $1,500 for employee plus one coverage, and up to $2,000 for family coverage, with the objective to provide more differentiated health insurance options to meet the needs of employees. This is the first year that this type of plan is being introduced, and there is a significant change in risk for the employee in that first year, so this would be a way to minimize that risk. This is also designed to be cost neutral to the district because the premiums for this plan are lower. So the board would be saving on premiums but contributing back towards the health savings account. Also, I wanted to point out that this is the board approval. Because this is a negotiable item, we also need the union to approve this as well.
Not officially, but they need to be aware of it and be willing to go with this.
Which I imagine they would be.
Yes.
It's a benefit to the employees.
To reiterate or to clarify, the total savings that the district will incur will be then in turn provided to the teachers for their health savings account.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we gain nothing as a district, but we're just taking the savings and passing them on.
Right, we're shifting. What we're doing right now is we're paying a lot in premiums to the health insurance company to take the risk of employees needing to use health care. And what we found by analyzing our healthcare expenses is that employees are not using as much healthcare as we're paying for. So it's more efficient to give the money to the employees to pay for the healthcare rather than to pay it to the insurance company and have it be a lost resource.
To both of us. Okay.
Right. And this will be approved on an annual basis. This is only a 1-year commitment.
Yeah, great benefit for the employees and cost neutral to the district. So
yes,
sounds like a good thing.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All right, so for item 9C, we have a motion to approve the HSA account contributions by District 65 as presented by the administration.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Ryder?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Charlo, yes. Getchell?
Yes.
Morozen?
Yes.
Motion's approved. Item 9D. Now we're talking about the approval of the middle school renovation scope of the project. Underline scope of the project from $9.2 million up to $10.5 million.
I think the key in there is up to. You're not approving 10.5, you're approving up to 10.5.
Right.
And I wanted to make it clear that this is for the completely envisioned project and includes removing and replacing existing corridor flooring, removing and replacing existing doors and hardware, and removing and replacing classroom flooring. We've discussed this at length. Does anybody have any further comments? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the LBMS renovation scope of project from $9.2 million up to $10.5 million as presented by the administration?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Charlo, yes. Gotchall?
Yes.
Morozen?
Yes.
Ryder?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes. Motion is approved. Okay. 9E is done. I didn't miss anything, right? So now we're on to Olson. Okay, now we are on item 9F and approval of Olson Transportation Contract Extension. We have received a memo in our board packet. We've discussed this at a previous board meeting, and I believe it means a 2% increase to the existing contract.
Yes.
Is there anything?
It's been reviewed by the law firm.
Okay. Is there anything you guys would like to add?
No.
Any questions or comments?
No.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the Olson Transportation and Contract Extension as presented by the administration and discussed in prior meeting.
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Barry?
Yes.
Charlo, yes. Gotchall?
Yes.
Morozen?
Yes.
Ryder?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Sorry, I've already moved ahead. Thank you.
Everyone should have a revised personnel report in front of them. We had a couple other resignations, and at this time of the year, it's important for us to be able to get those posted. So Mark will be reading those aloud this evening.
So for the record, we're talking about item 9G, the personnel report, and we're going to ask for its approval. I'm going to read that to you now under licensed employees recommendation for leave of absence. Heidi Bailey, a 6th grade science teacher in the middle school, effective the 2016-2017 school year for a leave of absence without pay. Licensed recommendation to hire Emily Anderson, a speech pathologist at the elementary school, effective September 1, 2016. She's a rehire as part-time support staff at 0.8 FTE. Tom Beck, there's a name I've heard before, a drama teacher at the elementary school, effective September 1st, 2016. Rehire as a part-time teacher at 0.4 FTE. Fred Koch, music teacher at the elementary school, effective September 1, 2016. Rehire as a part-time teacher at 0.6 FTE. Sally Verdon, kindergarten special ed teacher at the elementary school, effective September 1, 2016. It's a rehire as a part-time teacher at 0.8 FTE. And Karina Huddleston, a 7/8 language art, I guess that's grades, grade 7/8 language arts teacher at the middle school, effective September 1st, 2016. And that's a replacement for Dave Pookie, who fits in the
Masters
in
5.
the chart at Masters 5 at $54,312 a year.
Isn't he social studies?
Yeah, he is social studies. I was going to ask.
Yeah, and she's language arts.
It should be social studies.
Oh, okay.
We mixed them all around, but we had to put on here the position that was open, so you knew we didn't add a position. But Nate actually made several changes on his staff,
Okay.
so there's going to be some.
So he was social studies, but the new hire is language arts.
Do you have it all down? All right. Is that yeah?
I just want to get it clear for the record.
Well, that's the record.
The record is correct.
The record is correct.
The record is correct. Dave Pauke did resign. Upon doing so, Darcy Johnson expressed interest in possibly moving into the 6th grade social studies role. She's certified to do so. We took a look at those options and said that would be okay. We would do that. By doing that, we then had another request from Angela McNicholas to move from the 7/8 LA position into the 7th LA position, creating vacancy for the 7/8 LA position, which we intend to fill with Karina Huddleston.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Perfectly clear.
Makes perfect sense.
Okay, so we have some resignations. Under non-licensed personnel, we have Jennifer Phillips, a teaching assistant at the elementary school, effective June 1, 2016, because of a new employment opportunity. We have Ann Prulidge, teaching assistant at the middle school, effective April 29, 2016, also for a new employment opportunity. Under licensed personnel and resignations, we have Erica Hansen, a social worker at the elementary school, effective June 1, 2016, due to a new employment opportunity, and Peggy Coutre, reading specialist at the elementary school, effective June 1st, 2016, due to family priorities. So I know we all remember that, and may I have a motion to approve the personnel report for April 19, 2016 as presented by the administration.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Barry,
Yes.
Charlo, yes. Gatchall,
Yes.
Rosen,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes.
The motion is approved. Moving on, consent agenda. Yes?
Dr. Sophie messed up on the consent agenda. So the only minutes, so you have to remove from your agendas.
Okay.
Closed session minutes of 3/8, special board meeting minutes of 3/8, and closed session minutes of 3/15, because those are not in your board packet to vote
So
on.
we'll do those later. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. That makes it easier. So, included in tonight's consent agenda will be the regular Board of Ed meeting minutes from March 15th, 2016, the special Board of Ed meeting minutes from April 5th, 2016, the PTAR report, the Bills report, the Impress report, and the Treasurer's report. Would anybody like any of those pulled from the consent agenda so we can discuss them separately?
I don't want anything pulled, but I have to just make a comment. And I don't remember which report it was in, but I did skim them, and I did see and I hate to say, let me preface this by saying the musical was fabulous. It's a wonderful thing that we do in this community with that musical, and the waves of kids that participated was very, very impressive. That being said, it's like after Christmas and then the bills come in and you think, did I really need to buy all that stuff? I just happened to notice the cost of the dragon and the confetti cannon. And the dragon was $750 and the confetti gun was $400. And I just think if there's an opportunity, you hear a lot of commentary in the community about the musical, most of it very good, but there are some people that step back and say, wow, what are we spending all this money? And I think that might be something to take a look at in the future, because those two line items really just page. And you couldn't see the total cost because there's so many line items for the musical, so I don't know.
We're actually going to be reporting on that in May,
Okay.
because that's something somebody asked for, so.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so knowing what's in the consent agenda, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented by the administration?
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Do we have a roll call on this? Yeah.
Bill's payable.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Gatchall,
Yes.
Rosen,
Yes.
Ryder,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Charlo, yes.
Motion is approved. We can pay our bills. Good. Okay, now we go to item 10, FOIA request. Did we have a new one?
No, we just, the only other one was the retiree for the Illinois Retired Teachers Association.
Yeah. That didn't take too long.
That was it. So it's the request from Miss Lee, who we've had a lot of discussion about, and all right. Then we offer the opportunity for public comment. If nobody would like to step forward, we'll move on. And may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting at 8:32?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. I noticed there's an item after adjournment for discussion. If anybody would like to stay.